Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I am David Rodriguez, and today we're going to be reviewing Tavern Masters. This game was published in 2017 by Dann Kriss Games, and they've provided us this copy of this game to review. The designer is Dann Kriss. So, in this game, you are going to be playing cards out to create your own tavern and to draw new customers into your tavern, trying to get the most gold by the end of the game. To know a little bit more about this game set in a fantasy setting, we have our fantasy expert, Grungar the Dwarf. What's going on, Grungar?
Is this a joke? After months of making me talk to you from this awful tavern, you're playing a game about making taverns?
I'm pretty sure you only think it's terrible because you can't see over the tables.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your game and build the biggest, the best tavern you can in it. Then, I want you to take that tavern, clean it off, turn it sideways, and shove it straight up your...
Whoa, Grungar, calm down. Let's go to our gameplay overview. Whew, I'm sorry about that. He gets a little short-tempered sometimes. So, let's talk about Tavern Masters. One thing that's kind of neat about this game is that it can be played cooperatively or competitively. And the rules, what's nice about it is they barely change from one play type to another. So we're going to talk about the competitive rules first, but then we'll tell you the very few things that change when you're playing cooperatively. Mm-hmm. So when you start, everyone is going to have 3 gold with which to buy various things. You're going to be doing a lot of your buying during the first phase of the round, which is the day phase. So during that round at the beginning, someone's going to start as the server, which is kind of like the first player, but really they're just dealing out cards, so it doesn't matter too much. And each person's going to get 3 tavern cards. Now, these tavern cards are going to have a few different possible things on there. There can be food items that you can stock in your tavern. There could be various kinds of alcohol, like ales, meads, wines, that sort of thing. And there can also be staff that you can hire. Now, all these things cost gold to put down. Sometimes the staff, if you already have a certain thing in your tavern, you can play them out for free. But you'll pay the amount they cost in gold, you'll play them out in front of you, and they will stay in front of you for the remainder of the game as something that you just have in your tavern. Also during this phase, you can trade with other players. So you could trade for, cards in your hand or things that you played out into your tavern, and if they came from someone's hand or from someone's tavern, they're going to go into the person's hand or the tavern. You can also trade gold as well. So if you just want to try to get money, you can do that. It's a little... in a competitive game, sometimes you may not want to do it, but if you really need something, it might be worth it because you're not totally sure if you're going to get those cards. So it's a tricky thing to do, but it is an option for you. Once everyone has done all those actions that they can, it moves on to the night phase.
And during the night phase is when the patrons will come and visit your tavern. So the server for that round will deal out 3 patron cards to everyone. And on those cards, there's 2 types of patrons. There's a regular patron and there's also a noble patron. The noble patrons you can't put out until you have put something in your tavern that says that you're allowed to now play nobles. With the regular patrons, at the very bottom, they'll have a want in order for them to come into your tavern and stay for the night. So if you have that out in your tavern, then you can put them out and you'll get 1 gold for every patron that you have in your tavern and 2 gold for every noble patron that you have in your tavern. Some of the cards will, like all the nobles and most of the regular patrons, will have a like towards the top of the card. And so some of the things that they might like is like games or food, or like they might want like you to have a serving wench, or some kind of icon will be an entertainer. Some kind of icon is something that they like. If you have that in your tavern as well, then they stay in your tavern and they'll basically be there for the remainder of the game, unless something happens and you get rid of those cards. If they don't have that or you don't have what they like in your tavern, after you collect the gold, you will discard all the patrons that are leaving. And then after you've collected all the gold, you've gotten rid of all the patrons that aren't staying, you'll look at your hand, and if you're over 5, you'll discard down to 5 cards, and then it'll start a new round.
Yep, it really is just as simple as that. If the situation comes up where at the end of a round people are in a tie and they have 20 or more, you just play another round until there is no longer a tie. So, very simple to deal with. Now, the cooperative mode is a little different in that you're trying to make sure that everyone gets 20 gold, and you only have a certain number of rounds to do it. So there are some tokens that'll be like, round 6 on one side, round 5 on the other, and you're basically choosing your difficulty, going from the easiest, which is 6 rounds, to the hardest, which is 2, which the designer has told me is possible out of the core box. He said there's 7 ways to do it in 2 rounds. I cannot imagine, but I believe him. And so you're just going to be basically counting down, trying to get this done within that amount of rounds, whatever you pick. And I think with the cooperative mode, people are much more free with their trading.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice though, because you're still mainly working on your tavern, but you have a lot more cause to help somebody out if they're really needing something, which is a little bit of a different feel from the competitive game where it always feels like you're maybe messing yourself up if you're trading something. And then this solo works pretty much the same. There are a lot of expansions for this, which he gave us, but we're just covering the base game right now. We may at some point go through all these, because it's like a lot of little ones. We may go through at some point and try those out and do kind of a quick follow-up on what we think with the expansions. But for now, we're just talking about the core game.
So for the art and components of this game, I think they're all really decent. The cards are good quality cards. The card stock is a really nice thick card stock. The tokens are all really nice. The artwork is very pretty. It's fantasy art though, and so it comes with some of the typical art that you see for fantasy. So some of the women are a little bit more, the outfits and the positions they're in might be a little bit much for some people. It didn't bother me too much. I think there was one card that I was kind of like, okay, really? But for the most part, the artwork wasn't so risque that it bothered me. But I know what my tolerance for that might be lower than what other people have. So something to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't think it goes really beyond a PG level even, but it is. There are definitely some, they've gone with the typical fantasy trope of your barmaid with the push up everything going on and whatnot, and there's people called tavern wench and stuff like that. So I guess you gotta decide if that's something that's going to be a problem for you or not. It's in there. So, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. I think the art is really good, though. I especially like the various food and drink items. Yeah. I think those, man, they look delicious, honestly. I want to try that elven wine. I don't even know I have no idea what that would taste like. I just think it's in a neat container, and so it must be delicious, right? I don't know, but it looks good. I like the food more than I like the people. The people do still look good, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm just hungry when we play this.
Yeah.
I just want to eat that food. It looks fantastic. Except for the sticky cheese, which does look kind of awful, but nobles like it. So, anyway, I'm getting all over the place. But, yeah, I mean, good components. Everything that's cardboard, super chunky and thick. He went all, he said that he opted for going all out on art and components, even though it probably wasn't the best for profit. But, I mean, it's a nice production.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so I don't know if I mentioned on the channel or not, or if I've just mentioned it in conversations elsewhere, that I've really wanted a beer or tavern themed game. And there are games like that exist out there that I've looked at, and for whatever reason they don't look quite like what I want them to be. And the tricky thing is I didn't know what I wanted them to be, it's just that they were not quite hitting that thing, whatever it was. And this one might actually. I think it really is kind of neat. I like running my own tavern, and I like that it's in a fantasy setting instead of just a regular town. We played Taverns of Tiefenthal, which is a good game. It's set in a German town, I think, and that's cool and it's nice. But I like having an elven barmaid, and I like having my dwarf heavy metal looking entertainer guy. I love that kind of thing, and yeah, everything about it, I think it really works for that desire to play this game, and I feel like it is really thematic. I mean, it's not like some heavy game where you're getting into the minutia of how much of every single type of food you have or anything like that. It is not that complicated. If you bought bread once, you have bread in your tavern now. That's it. But to get the theme across, I don't think it has to be that way, and I really think that it captures that feeling well. I like being like, okay, we've added this to our tavern, let's hope that the people come by, and if they do and they really like it, maybe they'll stay around, and I really enjoy the theme of this. I don't know, I could see where some people might feel it feels more abstract than how I'm seeing it, though. I don't know, like, what did you think about it?
I think the theme is pretty well established in there. I think the only thing that would maybe help convey the theme a little bit more is if there was, like, some kind of player mat, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, just having everything kind of laying out on the table in front of you, it starts to get a little overwhelming, and then, you know, it's not cohesive in a way unless you make it that way. But yeah, like, I think it makes sense to have, like, the daytime is when you're restocking and replenishing and buying things for your tavern and getting ready for the evening, and then the evening comes and all your patrons come. And if you make the patrons happy, they're going to come back the next night.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed this game a lot. This is another game that we played 2, 3, and 4 players. I think we may have played this game the most over the weekend.
Could be.
I don't remember.
It was at least up there.
It was definitely up there, and I kept wanting to play it. I still wanted to play it. We played it cooperatively and we played it competitively. Most of the time, I like co-op games better because I don't really like the backstabbing or the take that aspects of competitive games. Where this one is like you're really just focusing on what you're doing in your tavern, and then seeing who gets the best score. And then the co-op doesn't change that too much, other than like if you're really ahead in money, then you can like help the other players out and like buy cheap cards off of them for a lot of money to help them out. And so I did end up liking the competitive version more with this game. What did you think about the co-op versus competitive? And
yeah, weirdly, I'm in the same boat. I think some of the expansions do add a little bit more take that stuff, but, you know, because other people can't really mess with you and you're just trying to be as efficient as you can with what you get, I think. It's pretty fun. I think the cooperative is definitely good, and I do like it, but, you know, sometimes if you're using it as a countdown, like, you can get to the point where it's like, okay, I can map this out because we have these people that are staying in our tavern. I'm definitely going to make at least this much gold on the next round. Like, we can say, okay, well, we won this in a turn or two, whatever. That's fine, but at some point, like, do you keep playing to do it, or do you just, like, stop then? Or do you stop and say, well, we actually beat it at this difficulty level because we were shooting for round 6 and we got it done by round 4. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess you could play it the other way if you wanted to and just keep track of what round you're on and just see if you can get it done early or not. But I prefer having a goal to, like, try to get into it underneath. So I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine either way. I just think the competitive is a little bit better, in my opinion. So,
how much luck do you think is in this game?
Kind of a lot. You have to basically work with what you're given. And you can trade, like I said, but that, you know, may or may not happen. But, we played at least one game where I was only getting patrons that wanted ale, and I wasn't getting any ale cards, so I couldn't get any income for the first couple nights, and I kept trying to, like, buy other things, hoping I'd get a patron that would like that, because you're increasing your chances, but still, they only wanted ale. I think that's the same game where you got things where you were getting, like, extra patrons and extra tavern cards every round, so I was like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know, if I'm like 2 rounds behind whatever I felt like.
Well, I agree. I think it was even that same game, the first round or two, I was kind of like, oh, I'm the tavern owner that set up the big fancy tavern in the wrong part of town, and so I kept getting, like, all the people that wanted, you know, probably wanted all the stuff that you had in your tavern.
Probably, yeah.
You know, so there is a little bit of luck. I do feel like you can kind of mitigate your luck pretty easily in this game, though. So, it kind of just depends on. I guess it kind of depends on what the luck the other players are having. But you can trade if you're really having bad luck with. Eventually, you're gonna have to get rid of cards because you're over that 5-card hand, and so you can kind of get rid of cards that aren't being useful to you at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always say is that the shorter a game is, the more luck it can have. If this was like a 3-hour game and it did this much luck, I'd be like, this is insane. Like, I don't want to do this for 3 hours. But I will play this game back to back 3 hours, and like that's fine because it's different games. I'm not trying to build up, and then like I'm just getting messed up at the end and it doesn't work for me. And it plays in probably like half hour, maybe 45 minutes if you're really thinking hard.
Yeah, the nice thing with this game is like there's not a whole lot of like analysis paralysis in this game, other than maybe when you have to discard cards, and you're all taking your turn at once, so you're not just sitting around waiting for everyone to take their turn.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, you're not sitting and staring at somebody to make their... I mean, I guess you could, at the end of a certain phase, you've done everything and someone's still trying to think about it. I guess it could happen, but they've at least been working on it at the same time you have, so not a lot of downtime. It goes really fast, so the level of luck doesn't bother me in this the way it might in a much longer game, for sure.
I really enjoyed this game a lot. I'm actually really excited to try the expansions that we had and see if I enjoy the game more or less with the expansions. But I had a really fun time with the base game, and I know we talk about burnout with games, and I think this game plays differently enough each time that it'll take a lot longer to reach a burnout with this game, if I do. And so I'm gonna give it a 9 because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really like this too, and I'll again state things I've stated many times, that like when I play a game, I've got a movie going on in my head, and so sometimes like you're like, oh man, I stocked all this stuff and everybody just wants the other thing. That's frustrating. There was one time where for a while I just had a peasant and a noble in my tavern. I'm like, what are they doing together? Like they're like, what a weird couple of people to like.
Maybe it was his servant.
Maybe I mean, could be. I don't know, but this is weird little like stories I can picture going on in my head, like just like you would if you're playing D&D and your characters are in a tavern. Like I could see all this happening. I've got my dwarven heavy metal bard, and like he's there, and there's not people coming in, and I don't know. I really like that. This is, again, it's not story it's telling you, it's a story that's playing out in front of you. I like that each card has pretty eye-rolling, humorous flavor text on there. That is right in line with my sense of humor. It is great and awful at the same time. Fantastic as far as that goes. And I just like it's very easy to teach. It's quick to bust out. There's not a ton of setup. Very easy to play. I mean, good as a filler game, but honestly, like I could probably play this back to back several times a night and just sit around chatting with friends and not feel like it was like a not impressive game night. Like I think it would still feel like, oh yeah, we got a lot of cool gaming in. I think it's fun enough that I wouldn't be upset if we didn't get to like one of the bigger, more complicated games, because I'd be like, well, we played Tavern Masters, however many times.
Yeah, we have some friends I can definitely see us, doing a game night and just sitting around drinking, playing this game. And it's probably some of our friends, because like we'll like kind of take on playing characters, and I can see some of the staff and so that making some fun storylines coming up. Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think I'm going to give this a 9 as well. I'm trying to think of why I'm not... I guess maybe because it does have a high degree of randomness. Maybe that's why I'm not quite going to give it a 10, even though I have a lot of fun with it. It's... I think in general, overall, I'd like a little more complication in the game, even though like I really seriously could play this all the time. But I think eventually I'd be like, okay, I need to play something that's a little meatier maybe. But I do think it's a fantastic game. Just super easy to get to the table, which is always a plus. There's a lot of games I love that are quite an ordeal to get going. We could probably play this like 3 times the amount of time it takes to set up Arkham Horror. I mean, no lie, it's pretty fast. So so I mean that's good. 2 9s. Very high score for Tavern Masters. So definitely go check it out. I believe as far as getting this game, I think there are certain stores that deal directly with him, but he is the one who like sends this out. So you might have to go to his website to get yourself a copy, but I recommend checking it out and check out some of the expansions too, because they're not super huge. So
and we'll put the website in the link.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the comments.
You'll see it. So check them out. It's a fantastic game. I think you will like it. So if you've enjoyed this review, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
One thing that's kind of neat about this game is that One thing that's kind of neat about this game is it can be shit. Really? One thing that's kind of neat about this game is that it can be One thing that's kind of neat about this game. If you enjoyed that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you like any of our videos, what you should do is click this little button to subscribe so you'll know about the next time we put out a video.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.